Determine if you I'm not sure how we're gonna make it small.
I'm not sure I'm so conscious. My phones are not on.
You can see that one picture, they have ice on it.
Yeah.
But
You gotta pay attention.
when they need something, just go in there.
Only with the.
Yeah.
I've never been through.
That's too really.
Well, I know that
It should, it needs to be.
Look at it.
It looks magnificent, and then I saw you posted on that. It happens to pop up and I say, oh my gosh, that's fun. They were where, you know.
Are you Keely?
All
right, how you doing?
Call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody for coming. Join us in pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approve agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Updates, chief, police chief.
I don't have much tonight other than hopefully we curtailed some of our hard burglaries. We've been getting hit with a lot. I think the department did a good job in tracking some of those people down, and then some of those things were happening in Wapello County. So we kind of got two birds with one stone. So hopefully that lasts for a while.
Fire chief.
I don't really have nothing new to report tonight.
Main Street. DCDC, over batting 1,000.
Public comments.
Well, Heather, I guess it's your turn.
Well, I just thought since there was new council members, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to try to look for something, talk about open and closed sessions, and then also kind of, see if there was any kind of questions. I tried to look for something that kind of summarized open versus closed and what constitutes a meeting. 'Cause some people, meetings are not just here. I mean, if you guys happen to be out in public, doesn't mean you guys can't be talking, but you guys shouldn't be talking in big groups about city matters and deliberating, or, emails could also potentially constitute meetings as well. So this kind of talks about just kind of a little summary. So I thought that maybe it would just kind of help out to figure out what different open and closed meetings are. I don't think you probably, do you want one? Of course. So a city is not like a normal, like a normal everyday job or normal employer. So what that means is that you guys have to have open meetings, and there's only very limited reasons why you guys can have closed meetings. And the reason for that is so the public can know everything that the city is deliberating about and why they make a particular decision. So if you are going to have a closed session, you can only do it if you meet the very limited exceptions. There's actually, I think, 11 or 12 of them, but the usual ones are discussing strategy with legal counsel on matters that are in litigation. Something that comes up that I've heard before is, well, can we go into a closed session without the lawyer present? Well, the answer is no, and I'm not saying this city said that. I'm just saying I've had that question asked to me before, as far as can a counsel go into a closed session without the lawyer present? No, the lawyer has to either be available by phone and participate in the meeting, or they have to personally be there, because otherwise it's not discussing with counsel in closed session litigation. Another thing that comes up would be if you are, trying to decide if you're gonna hire, fire or discuss somebody's performance. That can be in closed session, does not have to be. If the person who it's about does not want it to be in closed session, and that is something that you would wanna follow. That's done for the purpose of, some people may be applying for the city that have other jobs, or they may have, things that they don't want aired out to the complete public if they're not gonna get the job. So that's why a lot of times those kind of personnel matters are done in closed session, not to hide anything from the public, but to protect the person that is being talked about. As far as emails, certainly you guys can do scheduling stuff. What you gotta be careful of is not deliberating during the email and, meaning saying, well, I'm gonna decide this way because of this. I know some other things that, if you are, going from, kind of trying to, something people have heard about before probably is like a walking quorum. You can't do that either. You gotta be careful of those kinds of things. And I think everybody knows, you gotta give the notice for the agenda for the meetings. I guess I'm just not sure if anybody has any questions that I could help with or anything.
You look right at me, don't you? Yeah, just clarifications maybe. Can you define what a governmental body is?
Well, this would be a governmental body, but so is school boards, county supervisors, everybody like that.
It has a pretty broad definition, including subcommittees, advisory committees.
Well, any committee that the city is involved in, that would also be subject to a potential open meeting.
As long as they're discussing public policy issues.
Well, and if it qualifies as a meening, meaning like if it has to be a majority of the council members there, so.
Okay.
So if we have a committee of 2 council members, that's not a meeting.
Correct, because it's not enough.
I was looking under chapter 21, and this I got out of the Iowa League of Cities pertaining to chapter 21, that the definition, city councils as well as city boards, commissions required to comply with, but where it gets down to the definition includes city council subcommittees which do not constitute a quorum of council, but is established to serve as an advisory committee, basically as long as they're discussing or public policy issues, which could be anything that deals with how the city is going to spend money or raise revenue.
So it still has to be it still has to be a meeting, it still has to have the amount of council members there to constitute a meeting.
That's what I'm trying to find out. The way this reads, it says it does not have to come.
Yep, so if you even look right here on this little summary sheet that I gave you, actually it's in bold, so I wish it wasn't, but it says, that a meeting, the open meeting law defines a meeting as a majority of the members of the governmental body. That's why, like I said, I thought this might help, because it kind of summarizes the law.
Okay.
Jay, do you have 21.5?
Do I have it?
21.5 answers the question.
Yeah, I have it on my phone.
But that's why when we make our committees, there's only 2 council members.
Yeah, so when they, if they, I don't know specifically if this city has one, but sometimes there'll be a committee to recommend a police officer, or, I'm just making stuff up, but, recommend a police officer, so then they would have to come back to the board for the council to actually make the decision in an open meeting. So then they'd also have to say, when the committee came back, they'd have to say, if you asked them, well, why do you recommend this person? Then they would have to say in open meeting, this is why I recommend this person. They couldn't the committee couldn't email everyone and say, well, this is why I feel that this person should be selected. It would have to be in this meeting open to say, the two of us, the committee met, and this is who we recommend, and this is why. But if they're out, outside in the public and they run into each other at a ball game and they start talking about, well, why do you like this guy and stuff like that, then even though you guys are members of the public, you're also members of the council, you guys would have to stop that conversation at that point in time.
Mr. Mayor, I had a question. I forwarded this to Gail, and I realize she's out of state. I'll forward it to you as well. But let's try and split a little bit the topic of, again, seeking legislative action, and oftentimes what staff does, and that's trying to get feedback from the council members. So I'll give you an example. It's not uncommon when Sandy's putting together the agenda and she'll ask me certain items on there, is this something council would like to have on the agenda or not asking them to vote yay or nay on the merits or demerits of it, but whether or not that's something to put on the agenda. I'm curious whether that crosses the line insofar as that we're asking council members, we have a couple of items in front of you, we want to put this on the agenda. Do you have questions, comments, objections as to what you may add to the agenda? It's not uncommon. Some others say, well, for one or two council members say, I want X, Y, and Z on the agenda. And it puts us in somewhat of a difficult spot. Is it canvassing when we reach out to the other council members and ask?
So my understanding is you're only talking about something being put on the agenda.
Right.
There should be no other comments made though, no, but not about like, well, I feel about this way about this issue, or I want to vote this way, or, you know, I mean, just no commenting made, because then it could transform into, again, you're looking at, is it deliberation or is it not? Does that
Right,
kind
no,
of?
I understand. If they start arguing the merits and demerits of what needs to be done, that probably crosses the line.
Yeah, I mean, and somebody would have to, whoever on the email has to be the one to say, you know, and certainly if I'm not on there, you know, somebody needs to say, you can't go into those kinds of things. You know, meaning this email needs to stop.
Sure. All right, that's all I had. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, the only other thing I had, I mean, that's all night long, I guess, you know, it's just, we don't want to do that. Something that I brought up last week, and it has to do with the agenda, and that is when you go into closed session, obviously you have to state the code at which you're using for the exemption. The law also states that you have to have a subject matter on it to know what the closed session is about.
So what you put in is what the code section actually says. You put in the whole code section.
There's two things that on our agenda tonight. We have a closed session. All it says is closed session. But
No, it doesn't. It says,
The topic
It says-
says what it is.
For the first time Jake is there.
always-
But it's there even without
yeah,
that.
even without
Okay.
that, it still
Okay.
says what
It's
it,
still there, even without that on there, it's still there, it's right in the code section.
Even without that topic, update on litigation, it's
The
in the
code
code
section
section.
explains fully,
Yeah.
in the closed session, what the closed session is about.
Supreme Court ruled,
You have to specifically say, we've never done it in the past except tonight.
the Iowa Supreme Court ruled that the agenda
It's already in
must
it.
be reasonably sufficient
No,
to
yeah,
alert
it is.
interested people to the subject matter
okay, so,
of what's being considered. The agenda must specifically state any issue the board intends to discuss
There you go.
open or closed session. In other words, you list the exemption, which is here, and I apologize, I didn't see that topic at the end there. All I saw was the closed session, but it's required to have a topic as to what it's about.
so here's what I can tell you is you have to reasonably apprise the public of what it's about. So the closed session says what it's about. Now, do I think it's a problem to put something after it that says that? No, I mean, the more you tell the public, the better.
That's all I was stating last
Yeah.
week.
I mean, I wasn't here, but,
Yeah, we had no clue what the.
It said right in it what it was about. It was about one of them 3 or 4
but
items.
it doesn't, it's not a harm to put, now, if you're talking about, like, if it's about an employee, you don't wanna put,
We're not
The
putting his
employee-
name, and I wasn't requiring that, but
I'm just, I was just talking in general.
yeah.
So you don't wanna put the employee's name in, but you could put, you know, I mean, you could put
In reference to
city
the
administrator,
discussion,
I mean, you
or-
could put, I mean, like right now, it says update on litigation, I mean, that tells the public what you guys are talking
Yeah,
about.
that's fine. I apologize. I didn't see that at the very end there.
So
But the closed session item also tells you it's about litigation. It
Correct.
says litigation in there 4 times.
So I remember, I think I raised this question after I came on the council, and I don't want to, I could be recalling it wrong, but I thought that the closed session items were, I thought that when I asked about it, putting the code section in there, that's all that's required.
So what I think is that is enough to apprise the public about,
Okay.
but if somebody has an issue with it, you could always add it in, and then you know that you're not doing, as long as you're not putting, like I said, with an employee, putting that in, or you don't wanna say, it's about law enforcement matters, you don't wanna say regarding John Smith, down the street. I mean, you gotta be careful about what you put in.
Never even suggested that. I suggested like last week, because we had, the code states within the verbiage there, there was about, talking about, there's like 3 or 4 different things within that code about an employee. All I was saying is the public should know, okay, this is about the DPW discussion.
I certainly don't think it's a problem to add those kinds of things,
And that's what I'm saying.
because certainly then nobody can get mad about it.
That's an issue for the council to decide. That's not legally required. But what you're saying is the code section is the legal requirement. The council can decide how it wants the agenda.
Yeah, the only thing that could come up if somebody says they weren't reasonably apprised enough of what was in the agenda, then you're dealing with an issue that, then you have to decide, then the court gets to decide whether or not what you did was enough to apprise the public of, what the matter was about. So, I guess I would say if it doesn't harm anything, but.
They say, to err in the side of openness. That's pretty much what the court decided. And all I'm saying is we should be a little more, it does not hurt anything to add something instead of just saying closed session that we've done in the past. A quick little blurb saying this is reference to DPW discussions that we've had. This is in reference to litigation like we did tonight. There's no reason not to have that.
That's certainly up to everybody.
But we weren't doing anything wrong last week.
No, I don't think it was wrong. I think it told the public what you were talking about, but it doesn't hurt to add something else if you wanted to. And certainly if there is a concern about whether or not something should or shouldn't be the way it is, then you probably should halt on the issue until you can get a hold of somebody to see if there's an issue. Meaning, like, if there's a question about whether or not it's an open meeting or a closed meeting, or is this going too far, on an email or something, then certainly, ask us before it goes any further. If
Well,
that helps.
Going back to last week, we had a closed session. It talked about, it talked about employee stuff, but it didn't say what it was. So I'm coming into a meeting blind, not having any idea what we're gonna talk about, and possibly make a decision on it.
But the last 12 years on the council, it was fine. Now, last meeting, it wasn't.
Nope, 2 years ago, it was put in what that meeting was about.
It's never been on there like that before.
I disagree with you.
Well, and like I said, if it's an issue, I would, just add, I guess I don't know why just not to add it if it's an issue.
Like Earl said, he and I showed up here last week. We saw it on the agenda, but we had no clue what it was about or who it was about. We were expected to go into this closed session and make these decisions or whatever the objective was that night without any knowledge of what it was about. And that's not fair to Earl or I or anyone else that I don't know. Who else?
So when I came on the council, it's always been like that since I came on the council. When I came on the council, I had the same question I asked about it, got the same answer we got tonight. And what I did is if I had a question about something on the agenda, I just emailed either the mayor or Sandy and asked what it was about. I didn't stop the city's business over it. I just sent an email ahead of time.
Well, I think, like I said, it doesn't, if you want to add it, so there's not an issue.
Is it your recommendation as a city's attorney that they add it every time?
I guess I don't see I guess I don't see the harm in it.
That's not what I asked you.
Well, I'm
It's a council.
only answering the council.
For now.
That's all we got on that.
That solid, pretty much. I just thought that summary was something that was kind of a nice little small summary that would maybe help, so.
So if we'd have had the discussion last week in open session instead of closed, and the person that was about requested to be closed, and they had repercussions because of it, would we have been liable?
Possible.
What's up?
Code says we do
Couldn't
not
have had the meeting
honor
anyhow, she wasn't there.
Hey, if you wanna follow the rules, you can't talk right now.
So it says you don't have to honor it, but that doesn't mean that somebody couldn't
Right.
sue you if they have repercussions from it.
And there was nothing that stated that we couldn't have discussed it in open session and not mention his name.
The only thing I'm saying is that,
Yeah,
I
You
mean,
didn't, you didn't care if we mentioned his name. You matter of fact said, why wouldn't they want us to know? Let everybody know.
well, I'm kind of curious why the hiring committee hasn't contacted the previous employer to see how he is as an employee. That's kind of prudent.
How do you know they haven't?
That issue's not on the agenda for tonight,
Agreed.
so that we need to be careful about.
Anything else on open and closed session?
not for me.
Discuss and approve financial support for Davis County Daycare.
So the last time we were here, we were asked for the financials and the break-even numbers. So our board worked on the binders and made them, so you each could have one, so you could see those numbers and follow it. And right now, we're looking at our rates and ways to close the gap without it affecting our families. And I think that when we were here, it seemed like maybe some, because I know there's a lot of new council members, so it seemed like some of them thought maybe we'd come to the city often asking for help. And in the past 4 years, the daycare has asked for the support of the city 3 times. And we've always appreciated the support that you provided. I do feel that the daycare has sustained itself well until the unforeseen situation of the flood that caused a closing and in turn caused the school to have to relocate, which we then lost the income that did pay our yearly payment. And so it does take time to recoup from those situations. And right now, I feel like our numbers are growing. And you can see that our current enrollment is growing, especially in the last year after we did drop our rates. So, and how are we looking at closing the gap so that we can make the break-even number? With the help of Tammy Roberts, we are working on grants such as the wraparound program that has the potential of paying $2,700 per child of families that meet the income eligibility. And we're working on the Community Economic Development Project grant that awards money to the nonprofit program, the Community Infrastructure Development Program, which would help with the maintenance on the structure of the business, as well as the preschool development grant for programs for children from birth through 5 years. And we'll continue looking for more grants that we qualify for so we can sustain ourselves. But we are working to move forward, and as we do that, we hope that you'll be a part in helping us do so. And we invite any of you to come to any of our board meetings so that you can be a part of the daycare working toward our goal of continuing to bring quality childcare to our community. We are also working with REC. I did talk to a lady from Area 15, the AEA in Atumwa, and she's gonna help me with some grants as well, and how to write the grants so that we're successful with our grant writing. We do plan to go to the school board as well, the hospital. And we did talk to the county, but the county's kind of waiting on what we receive from the city. And in there, you'll see that we do have 51 of our children that are from that do live in the city, because that was a question asked as well. 35 from the county, and 6 of the other kids are from Missouri.
Damn.
I don't know the history. I mean, was there a 28E or any sort of agreement made between the city and the daycare ever?
Well, the big blue book, there's a lot in there, but,
No, it was not a 2080 agreement.
I'm just trying to figure out.
The letter from,
about 11 pages back is one letter, but another.
It's behind the summary.
Stuff that discusses how the city and the Davis County, Davis County, DCDC. Their claims we have from the beginning till we go.
These other sources for funding, is that something you've done since the meeting 2 weeks ago, or had you started that prior?
Nope, Tammy got a hold of me. She started looking for grants and was able to share those with us. The Area 15 was also in a meeting that I had with Tammy and our CCR&R person for Davis County. And so I just contacted her, and that lady said, I'm more than welcome to help you and guide you through it and share all the grants that we use ourselves. And that page in the back, those are just the other daycares in the state of Iowa, the ones that are highlighted in the green. Those are just, and this is something that was sent to us from the USDA. The city, county, hospital, and school are all contributors to those daycares.
You said the green ones are,
The green ones are, those are funded by all of those.
I'm sorry, who did you say was paying into those
The city, the county, the hospital, and the school,
for all the green ones?
for all the green ones.
Matt, 2 weeks ago, you asked about the legality of this. Was there anything that was discovered or?
I didn't follow up. My understanding from Andy is that,
On the utility,
Iowa Association of Municipal Utilities General Counsel said that the city cannot give utility breaks.
that's correct. I forwarded the statute that it was in. I'll do that again, but sure, it's 2 weeks ago. I'll make note of that. I spoke with her.
That's pertaining to utilities only, right, where we can't get guests, is that what it came down to?
Yeah, because there, as you recall, Councilman, there was some discussion in the previous meeting about whether or not the city could be in a position to provide subsidies in way to those rates. And again, the email I received back from general counsel highly recommended against that. They also cited a state code with more outliers that.
Okay, all right, no, I probably saw it, but I don't remember what the details
Well,
were.
that's right, I'll forward you.
Are these ones in green city-run daycares?
Some of them are hospital and some of them are in the city. Some are in the schools as well.
They're actually run by the city or the
They're
hospital.
not independent.
No, they're not actually. The hospital ones are ran by the hospital. They're, I would say, in the hospitals, but the ones, some of them are ran by the school and funded by the school, the county and everybody else. But then the other ones are just like us.
So like the one that says City of Ackley, do you know if that's a city-run daycare or it's a, I'm just trying to pull that out as an example.
That I would say, again, that would be ran by the city possibly, but I don't know.
It looks like all the ones in green have,
It's actually a school district operation.
it looks like all the ones in green are either connected to the city, the county, or a hospital or a school. By the names, and you see some of them that aren't, but they're funded by municipalities.
Yeah, and the ones that aren't highlighted maybe are at a school site. I mean, they've all got different code numbers, like it shows on page 3.
Lisa, I guess I'd like the opportunity, first of all, I appreciate this information, this is helpful and thorough. I'd like the opportunity to look at this a little bit and then maybe
Okay.
visit with you about some questions that I have, probably not necessarily productive to be done in the council setting, but.
And we will have a board meeting next Monday at 5:30, and you guys are all welcome to come. If there's anything else you want to discuss or.
Look, you would.
We have an agenda.
Done that.
That's funny.
But we do appreciate everything, even last week. I'm new to working outside of the home. I didn't come as prepared as I should have. And that did help us understand even where we are ourselves. So we do
This
appreciate
is
it.
thorough and helpful, so I appreciate this. I'd like to have the opportunity to look at it a little bit, and then I've got a couple of questions, but I can probably just ask those directly.
Yep, anytime.
Thanks for the information.
Do you think you could put your hands on the documents that dealt with the formation of this? I mean, I'm not saying like it has to be right now, but I'm just saying, okay, can I put mine?
Were you on the board at the time, Jerry?
Yes,
Council?
I was on the council at that time.
Are you okay with me just taking it?
Earl was, you was on there at the same time, weren't you? Or was you on right after?
I think I was on, not when it was built.
Oh, well, that's.
I came in after that.
Betsy Bassett was the city clerk at that time. Yes, there, go ahead.
No, I was just asking if you were, 'cause I thought you were, and I figured you'd have some.
Didn't DC play a pretty big role at the time it was
Yes.
built?
Yes.
DC, Main Street,
Have you
The
talked to
council,
DC?
Pardon?
We did go to have a meeting with him. All he really didn't have anything he could share with us, he said. He did give us a book of businesses and we took it and we appreciated they'd give us that to, maybe we could reach out to businesses as well, but he didn't have any information to help. I know Joel Patterson and it's all in that book. Everybody that was on DCDC, everybody that was at any of those meetings, it's all in there. Because some of them might
I
have.
don't know right now. But I mean, if you guys want to listen to that specific.
I don't think anything specific right now.
Okay.
Specific.
Alright. Has anybody else got anything on the daycare? New business. Approve resolution to provide for notice of hearing on proposed plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the North Street paving project and the taking of bids.
I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have. Going into the design of this last year, we had a high-level estimate of about $600,000 for those two blocks. After design, it is still $600,000, so it's right in that neighborhood. So we're kind of behind the prime time to be laying the projects, but it still should be fine. It's a small project, hopefully. I know some contractors that Drish, for one, is interested in the project, so hopefully others are too. Pretty straightforward, just 2 blocks of paving from US 63 west to Columbia, doing both the intersection at Columbia and the intersection at Madison. Most challenging part of it was probably the sidewalk on the north side of the street going west from US 63. There's a series of steps from that intersection, and the proposal is to eliminate the steps, but it's going to be very steep from there. But we will meet ADA requirements, but it's almost impossible to make it much better. So
one thing I noticed on the plans, first of all, I was very glad to see them. So I think this is something we need to get moving on as soon as snow melts. That intersection, that street, that sidewalk on North Street, that's a big intersection for the kids going to school.
Right.
So with the road closed, are they still gonna hit the crossing guards and everything, and the kids, will it be set up so they can still use that sidewalk on the north side?
yeah, we won't. Yeah, that'll be one of the last things we tear out is the sidewalk.
Okay.
So yeah. There obviously got to be a brief time in there while we reconstruct it. We'll keep it open as long as we
I
can.
just don't know if we need, who does those intersections? Is that the school that we need to work with to make sure?
Well, hopefully it's done this summer. Well, school
Okay.
is.
While it's out?
Hopefully.
Okay. Perfect. What, are we still thinking March for bids?
Yes. 4 weeks from last Monday. There's a significant amount of storm sewer. We're running storm sewer all the way from Columbia to US 63. And, you know, we're putting in good base, granular sub-base material, longitudinal sub-drains for good drainage. And that's most of the problem in that block between Madison and Columbia is this flat, water sits in there. And so we'll get all that out of there, and it'll be very nice when we get done.
Move to approve.
Second.
Earl,
Yes.
Jake, Darren,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Approve resolution to provide for notice of hearing on proposed plan specifications, form of contract, estimate of cost for the 2020 asphalt paving improvements project and the taking of bids.
We've talked on a number of occasions about the scope of this project and how many streets to do. Obviously, we received bids on a project last October and subsequently rejected those bids. I believe it was in November the council actually decided to expand the project then. So have you all looked at the proposal? Because of that discussion, we were actually recommending Carr Street be considered in there. After we discussed it, that was removed. And we also discussed doing East Street south of the new bridge. That's not in it. So a lot, I guess I haven't added up how many blocks this is, but to get all this done, you're gonna notice a difference driving around town.
Not enough.
Not enough, but.
Not enough, but it's a heck of a good start. In general, a lot of these are badly deteriorated concrete roads that need to be, we gotta extend them somehow because you can't afford to rebuild them all. And then there's some others that are kind of major routes through town that do have asphalt on them, but it's in very bad shape. Jefferson Street, the 2 blocks there, Madison Street, couple of them. In general, they will all get 3-inch asphalt overlays. Where there's asphalt now, we'll mill 3 inches off with 3 inches back on. The concrete streets, we are going to do those in a crack and seat. We're gonna make the existing concrete pavement flexible and then put 3 inches asphalt on top. Pretty simple. There are a number of sidewalks that we have to make ADA accessible. They're included in the plans. So, it's fairly straightforward. We're gonna get rid of a lot of drainage problems and a lot of bad streets, so. We've kind of backed into how much we can do. As I was told last year, the city could come up with about $2.5 million total for all the street work. We had at that time presumed North Street would be 600,000 of it. And then obviously there's design, engineering fees, we have construction fees, staking and such. I'm putting the asphalt project at about 1.5 million. And with the North Street, that's 2.1 million. Engineering and all that is roughly 275,000. So we should have a surplus of 200 to 250,000. So you got some room to, maybe if you decide to later on, you might add a couple blocks of something. If we get good bids, maybe more. Or you don't spend the money. The 2.5 million came from what I was told then was 2 million bond money, and then 0.5 million from other sources that you might have. So maybe if it all goes well, you don't have to put a lot of money into it from other sources. So those decisions can be made later, but it looks like we can do all of this work.
Or seal coat.
That's true. That's true. I want to get 50,000 seal coat out of that too. So we should have money for it. I'm confident in that we can get this done for about 1.5 million because it's based on, a lot of it's based on the numbers that we got in the bid last year.
So the asphalt streets that we're gonna mill down, and is that machine that mills it and runs it right back through and lays it back down, does that make, is that any cheaper?
Kidding, those things are a block long.
Well, that's a whole process for one thing. And this project's way too small to bring in a machine like that. But we will reclaim that 3 inches asphalt. You can keep it yourself, or the contractor can use it and have value from it because they may be able to recycle it. I don't know if you want that much in milling. You can use it in alleys. I think we had it to be retained by the city. It'll be quite a bit because we've got at least 10 blocks to mill on.
I know they did some,
You can sell that.
they put some up the driveway out at the country club. And it's helped it a lot. It makes the water run way faster down there.
Especially not a hot day.
Let me check, but I believe that we had it for the city to be
Like I say,
retained,
that'll
so.
take all of it. They have
But
16
if not, we'll make sure that
Bringing
it
in
does.
from Des Moines, they really like that product. You can sell it out there, because it'd be way cheaper to truck it out there.
Yes, the city will retain ownership of the mill. Bids would be received, the proposal is the bids would be received the same day as the North Street paving. And then you would act on it, that'd be Monday, I think, the 16th of March. And then council would act on it at that council meeting later that week. Both projects. Kind of like Christmas.
Move to approve this too. Second.
Matt,
Yes.
Jake,
Yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Darren,
Yes.
Approve change order number 6 from Gersh Construction in the amount of $244,657.87 for the 2019 proposed water main and wastewater improvements, Division 2 sanitary sewer.
Again, this is a project we've talked about several times. And it may have grown a bit beyond what we originally talked about, but maybe the price of $244,000 needs further consideration. We're not exactly sure how much money the city has left in CDBG money, so you may need some time to think on this one until Sandy can provide those numbers that the funds that you have left of CDBG money. Because it's a 50-50 thing. And if you exceed the allotment of CDBG funds, then the improvements are 100% funded by the city. This work was primarily initiated, if you have the plans. Okay. You can imagine
It's an extension on the
east along Franklin from Hillcrest.
Well, I mean, it's in Karen's backyard.
There's an existing sewer that runs along Franklin and goes about 2 houses east of Hillcrest. Then it turns south and goes between lots to a manhole between those lots, and then it turns east and runs between a bunch of houses. And there's brought with fences, sheds, and a whole lot of other stuff that would impede maintenance and reconstruction of the main. So, and in that area is a manhole that does not have a bottom in it. And after cleaning it a number of times, the stuff just builds up in there, and they almost weekly have to go out and clean this manhole. They have excavated about 2 feet below the bottom of the manhole. And it continues to be a problem. So, and that's kind of in the middle of all this thing. And since we're not sure about the availability of money, the major thing, this is all 6-inch sewer, not in good shape, and it's got root problems, particularly behind those homes. It's probably most important to get to that point where that manhole, it's shallow, and then it doesn't work with a hoot. And we can abandon that line behind those homes by putting in 2 pieces of this proposal. None of that along Franklin, but the 2 stubs going north from Morningside. And as I said, you probably want to delay action on this until the next meeting. We'll break that cost down and make sure that Drish can do, if they can do just those 2 pieces, it will eliminate a lot of problems. And
Just from a budgetary standpoint, this would be in the utility budget.
Correct.
So it wouldn't necessarily alter positive or negative the city budget. Could alter the utilities budget, but that's a separate.
You're right, it's contract.
so, if you don't want to take action tonight, which I presume you will not, we will get 2 costs. One for just the Franklin sewer, and then one for those 2 stubs coming off of Morningside. Okay. Trish had indicated that they would like to get going probably by the second week of March. So if we can get some action determined by that first meeting in March, we're still good to go. Yeah.
Tell them it'd help if they sharpen their pencil.
What's that?
Tell them it'd help if they sharpen their pencil a little.
Exactly. A lot of this was based on current bid prices, so some of it wasn't. They have been extremely good to work with. I've been pretty impressed with them the whole time. They've been very, very cooperative in this stuff.
Well, I think we can have a decision next Thursday. I'd like to just know how much CDBG money we have left over, how much is left in the whole project, and how much is out of pocket, if we gotta do more out of pocket.
We'll have the split prepared for you before that meeting.
I think we just need to know where we're at.
So do we need to table that till next week?
Yeah, we'll just table it till the next meeting.
Move we table item C under new business till next week?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You got any, we're done with you, right, Larry?
Okay, yeah, I believe so. If you don't have any additional questions for me, I'll probably be getting more. Thank you.
Consider and approve sidewalk restoration at 110, 111 South Madison Street. So,
This is a research thing, right? I had asked for this to be on the agenda just primarily just so that we could, evidently it's been, this inquiry's been going on for 2 years for these folks. And, they're still in the dark. They would like to get something done. What they're doing or asking for, I guess, is a variance, because under the current code, anybody who repairs their sidewalk, at least in that section, there's about an 8-inch height that they have to do to meet code. The variance that they're asking for is to fix the sidewalk under the current height, rather than taking a huge tripping hazard about 8 inches high for everyone to walk around the square. Or we can, in being new on the council, I don't know what the previous discussions have been for the complete square, the sidewalk being fixed all at one time. I don't know what the status is on that.
That's in Larry's hand.
Yeah. So my whole thing I wanted on this was just where maybe we could send them a letter to state where we're at on this process. Or we give them the variance so they go ahead and fix their sidewalk under the current height, rather than what the code states.
You know, Larry, what the timetable is on sidewalks? Larry, do you know what the timetable is on the sidewalk project?
Say that again?
Do you know what the timetable is on getting the plans done for the sidewalks?
Yes, I'm not here with it.
The timetable on the sidewalks for the square, the plans,
We haven't done anything with it,
haven't done anything yet.
so there's no timetable yet. So
I don't
if
know.
it's something you want to pursue,
Evan, I think it was Evan or Matt, one of them I walked around the square with, and we
yeah.
discussed it, and they,
Does anyone know what we want to do?
we discussed it, we're gonna work on something. We talked like we were busy, and it wouldn't be till later this year, but.
Okay. We need to talk more.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we haven't done anything, I think, since you initially met with them. Okay.
So, I thought when we talked about this before, we were gonna look at actually doing something with the ordinance, because the ordinance sets the sidewalk grade at.
The ordinance has the sidewalk tied in with the street elevation, which is asinine, because the street has been overlaid so many times, it's about a foot thicker than it ever was
So
in
then,
the center.
and I don't have a problem necessarily with, whatever, an exemption, variance, but I don't know if we can, I don't know what the process is for that. It seems like, I mean, I don't know that the council can do it. Can we give a variance by a method different than amending the ordinance?
Yeah, we can just vote to give them a variance.
Does the code provide for steps that you have to follow to do a variance?
I don't
mean,
know,
some
give
codes
Bruce
do.
Piper one to build his house without having to pay. Just by normal vote, that's against the ordinance, we didn't change an ordinance for that.
I just was asking if there was anything.
Hang on a second.
Or if it's even worth them spending the money if we're gonna have the sidewalks all redone in the near future anyway. That's
But-
kind of what the discussion.
Sooner the better would be nice, but that may not happen until next spring.
Right.
If it were me, they make a concrete product that you pour out and it self-levels and it'll stick to absolutely anything at any thickness. That I would choose to do that patch with until the sidewalks are replaced. But if they want to go ahead and replace it themselves now, and then when the project gets done in full, gets torn out and redone again later, then that's them.
That would be up to them. What they want to do. We did, seeing how we received the letters again recently, after let's address this and at least let them know what they can or cannot do. I guess we can make a motion to give them the variance. And then they can decide whether or not they want to do this or wait till next spring, a year from now, to when the whole thing's getting fixed. At least they have a direction.
But do they have coal chutes?
I don't know. I would assume they do, but
Well, if they do, I would think in the variance, they would need to fix the coal chutes.
I think
when
they
got
fixed
the-
those
Have
when
they
they
fixed
fixed
them?
the front of that building.
If they haven't, we probably need to fix them when they got the sidewalk.
correct.
I think they fixed them when they did the building.
And that's what I'm kind of thinking about. I don't know for certain.
Probably need to find out.
Or we can put it in the order, whatever we tell them that, you have the variance to fix sidewalks, so long as you fix any of the coal chutes that they are not fixed already.
So they have to get a sidewalk permit. It looks like. So does that, I guess the question is, does that follow the same process like where you approve? So if what we want to do is a waiver, I wonder if what needs to happen is, the council needs to authorize approving the permit without complying with that provision. What I'm ignorant on is, well, lots of things, but as it relates to this, what I'm ignorant on is, what that process is. Is that just a normal motion, or do we have to go through, like, I know when we do an ordinance, we have to do the hearing and all of that. Can we just grant a variance by, or do we even need to approve it? Is that something that the commission that approves the?
I got a variance to build my house because there was two conflicting ordinances, and I went to the variance board. It didn't even go to the city council.
I don't see anything you're talking about variances. I mean, I just did quickly.
So then all they gotta do is go to the variance board, or not?
That's what I was told to do when I built my house.
Does the variance board grant that then, or do they make a recommendation to the council?
Like I said, I never went before the council, or they granted it. There was two conflicting ordinances on, to do with a corner lot and your setback.
Well, I think the variance board, I think they make a recommendation to the council. The council
That's-
on.
If you'd like, I'll give them that bit of information, and then if that's the case, the variance board can make a recommendation to us for
I
vote.
mean, we've been working on the sidewalks for a long time. The
Yeah.
previous administration was given direction to have the prints looked at and go through that, and it never did happen. So their wording in here saying nothing's been done is BS. They just haven't been paying attention.
we've been working on trying to get a plan put together to do something with the sidewalks. I think it's fair to give
There's
them,
been a lot.
give them a choice. If they wanna wait and see what happens on the project, that's fine. I think it's probably, from what I'm hearing, it's probably fair to say if they make an application for a permit and specify that they'll comply with all provisions of the code except this, that a variance would likely be granted. I mean, does that seem?
Or
Give
like
them
I
the
said, if they wanna do the patchwork until we do get the sidewalk done, with a concrete product you make, you just pour it out, it's self-leveling, it'll stick to absolutely anything, even a millimeter thickness.
I think, and then they have the option.
I think that's all they're asking for. At least that's how I read it in the letter.
Works for me.
Do we need a motion for that, or do we just let it sit and send the vote,
Yeah, here it is, it says go to the Board of Adjustment,
Board of Adjustment?
so.
Okay. But then we probably don't need a motion for anything, I'll just, let them know to the Board of Adjustments.
They'll go to the Board of Adjustments and then they'll make a recommendation to the council.
Give them their options and
Yeah,
they decide if they want to
works for me.
prepare it or go to the Board of Adjustment.
Good discussion, I learned stuff.
Okay, consider housing incentive applications for parcel number 010100120. This application is for Danny and Jill McKee to build a new house in city limits. It's not in the TIF district, so the way the incentive plan reads, they would be eligible for $10,000 and then a 3 to 5 year tax proration or.
How are these coming in now? Are they, Tammy, are you looking at them when they come in now? You get your,
Yeah, they go to her and then she sends them to Andy and then
Okay.
they come to us.
so how do you guys, I mean,
Well, typically, like
you
you
guys have any
said,
thoughts on this? or-
right, it falls under that, the program where, and Debbie can speak to this better than I can, and that's, I think the mayor indicated those in the TIF district, those that are not in the TIF district. And what benefits they
And they have to
receive.
meet the minimum requirements for square footage and cost.
Right.
So that's basically all we can approve on at our level, and then just move it through to you guys. And just make it very clear whether or not it's in a TIF district or not in a TIF district, so you are aware of what you're approving for the cash payout, how do you want to say that? But these are, neither one of them are in a TIF district.
Do they provide any documentation as far as, I saw on the paperwork here, the square footage and what their, think the cost is gonna be?
Well, it's on their application, they filled out.
All right, here, yeah, I saw that.
I don't
Are they
know whether-
providing documentation like from a builder showing that it's gonna cost that much? Because that's, the requirement, it has to be X amount of dollars, right? In order to
Right.
qualify?
That's to assess for a certain amount.
It has to assess for a certain amount, yes, yes.
So if it doesn't assess for that much, then they don't get the money.
That's, I'm curious, you know,
Right.
a house, and they're saying one was a 200,000, one was a 160,000?
Yeah, that's the first.
It has to be 150.
Okay. So I'm just curious how, if they provided
don't-
paperwork of an assessment, but
You know, it's approved,
plans.
my understanding, I'm as newer than you are.
Right.
My understanding is that we just approve on what they're giving us and they apply for the building permit and those documents just come in. systematically and is approved down the or inspected down the timeline. But if they don't meet the requirements, then they won't be subject to the incentive.
$150,000 net value.
Yeah, I'm just curious with it. Yeah, when this thing's built, also it's assessed at $130,000, but they don't get the money.
We have a new
Value
house in
of
town
home.
and they don't get the
This says
incentive.
value, which would be, is that assessed value? It says net of value, so is that what it costs to build it, or is that what assessed value?
I think that's a typo, I think it probably means net of lot value, I think was what's intended. That was the way I read it, net, because it says the value of the home must be greater than 150,000, I think what was intended there was net of the lot value, so the building, you know, the assessor assesses lot value building, the building value has to be 150 is the way I read it. Now, it's gonna be interesting, I don't know if we're gonna be able to determine that before I don't know when the assessor assesses those, but we may have to delay some of these payments if we want to ensure that. He's only the assessor, but
So moving forward, this program should, there be verbiage that says approve.
You can also have
for
the plan
consideration.
We can
assessed.
approve it, but they can take their plans to the assessor's office and they can give them the.
There you go.
Right, that's
There you go.
The close assessment, I
There you
mean.
go.
that makes sense. So does the other one have a lot yet, did they say?
She doesn't
Is that in a tip or not in a tip?
No.
Both are not.
You don't
Oh, the
have
second
to-
one now has an address.
Okay.
They've got a lot.
Yeah, I think if you took possession of it January 20th, and that's 3 years record.
And I talked to, Janelle, and she has closed on a lot and intends to build.
Ready for a motion?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve item E.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Bruce Housing incentive application for partial 01110003.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Claims. That was a good number.
Yeah, I gotta ask.
Yeah, I had that same question.
What is the APGA shrimp annual membership?
You miss out on a shrimp fry or?
Who's the vendor?
It says Visa,
Yeah.
the Visa purchase.
That has to do with gas. It's not shrimp to eat. It's,
I didn't know.
that's an acronym for something.
Okay.
Is that an automatic payment? Is there a reason we can't get a bill for that every year and write them a check versus putting it on the credit card?
That I don't know about that.
We need to look into that. There's some of these credit card reoccurring payments and credit. If we can get a bill, even if it's monthly or annually versus just auto pay, we need to do the bill side of it. And if they don't offer that, we may not need to do business with them.
Especially when they don't give you the shrimp.
Yeah. We wanna know when the shrimp
Makes
is
it hungry, yeah.
That's it.
because I know there's,
Shrimp out of it.
Anybody got any more questions about the claims? Is the University of Iowa thing, is that a class you're taking?
University of
The
Iowa.
2020 Economic Development course?
Yes, University of Northern Iowa, yes.
That's the one we went to in Grinnell. I seen there was something, class that was offered, it was the same one we went to in Grinnell last year, when it was in Des Moines.
I don't think so. This is through you and I, through University of Colorado, through Heartland.
I don't think we
From the
have-
University of Oklahoma.
Hey.
University of Oklahoma, I'm sorry, University of Oklahoma. It's a
Well, it was the
great.
one that Debbie Durham and the governor and lieutenant governor spoke at, and they're at it again.
It's IEDA conference.
Motion to approve claims.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comments.
I have a couple. First section, closed section 21.5 Iowa Code. The first sentence is pretty important. It says, "A governmental body may hold a closed session only by affirmative public vote of either 2/3 of the members of the body or all of the members present at the meeting." So for a full council, that's 4 out of 5, not 3 out of 5 as we tried to do the last time. We wanted to go into a public or closed session. If there's just 3 present, I guess that's good enough. The other thing I wanted to ask, the attorney, I believe, said that an attorney was supposed to be present at all closed sessions. Is that correct?
No, only the closed sessions that, so if the reason they gave is to discuss, like there's a section of the closed session that talks about litigation
Correct.
with counsel.
Yeah.
Then I either have to be personally present or on the phone.
It's like for hiring and firing, you don't need to be present
No,
at a closed session.
No,
Okay,
just the
thank
one.
you very much. And the last thing was, Mayor, could you update us on the 2 positions we're trying to fill, DPW and finance manager? What's going on with those? Can you tell us anything?
We are, at the next meeting, we'll have a decision on the DPW position. We haven't received a yea or
So we
nay.
made an offer.
Yes, we have made an offer.
How did that come about?
How did that come about?
Yeah, what did you-
Because the council approved it.
Okay.
And the finance manager applications closed on the 18th, and the hiring committee's gonna look over the applications after the meeting tonight to make a determination for interviews. You look puzzled.
I am.
What are you puzzled about?
Full council involved in both of these situations or just certain ones, certain members?
Everybody?
Okay.
Well, we can't have the full council involved.
They was involved in making the decision to do it.
So the council appointed a hiring committee. Said, look, review resumes and conduct interviews and make a recommendation. Then the hiring committee makes a recommendation to the full council.
And the council made the
The council
decision.
acted to empower the mayor and the administrator to negotiate.
For the DPW. It wasn't a full council, sorry, Matt was not here at that meeting, but it was the other.
I guess one of the reasons I'm puzzled is someone had a conversation with me today and apparently we're offering more money to the DPW than was listed in the job posting. And they said if that's true, had they known that, they may have applied for that job. Is that what's going on?
It's not on the agenda to talk about.
That's what's going on then.
Didn't say it wasn't, didn't say it
It'll
was.
come out at the next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is gonna become for the attorney, how can you hire someone and give a higher salary than the job posting range that was mentioned? And do that without having legal ramifications?
Heather, I'll put you on the spot. I mean, I've been in cities where, I mean, that's still an administrative legislative decision. The council can only decide to increase the salary for a particular position.
I don't know the answer to that, so I'm not gonna try to guess. I'd have to look it up.
Will you say that again, what you just said?
Right, it's common in cities then, when, let's just say you have an applicant pool and you have someone that is in a pay range, let's just say for the sake of discussion, between 50 and 60,000. And the city then decides, after consulting with the person who would be the chosen applicant, that applicant comes back and says, I want more. I don't want 60, I want 65,000, something such as that. I work for cities where it has to go through the council. That's not something that staff makes a decision. So the committee, by extension, would have to go back to the city council and say, okay, this person doesn't want 60, they want 65, and then they would need to vote yea or nay. They have the ability to do that.
And the council did.
Right, just like they could lower it. I'm not gonna name the city that out my name, it's in another state south of here, but I've seen that done.
Okay, thank you.
Any more public comments? Andy?
Mayor and council, an item that I just want to make mention of, you will notice there isn't anything specific to the budget on the agendas. We are coming to the conclusion, I would argue, to the budget process. I want to inform you that Cindy Kendall, the individual who has done a lot of work for the Iowa League of Cities and also was a former finance director of the city of Marshalltown for a number of years. With council's consent, she visited with Sandy and I 2 weeks ago, and then this past week. She's working, the general fund budget is, at this point, is finished. And obviously, unless council wants to make some additional recommendations, she's also working on the utilities budget. And an item that we discussed, Sandy and I and the mayor did as well, asked Cindy if she would be willing to come to our next council meeting on February the 27th, which is a week from tonight, and give us some background and perspective as to what she's found. I think that would be very, very beneficial for her to, quite frankly, visit with all of us and share with us the merits and demerits perhaps of what we have done. There's a budget workshop she has afterwards, which is scheduled, I believe, in the spring, and then we'll make decisions as to what staff would go to that. But just want to let you know, she will be here on the 27th, and we'll give an overview presentation. I don't know what that looks like, so as soon as she develops an itinerary or schedule she wants to follow, I will let you know. It may be just a general discussion of the budget process. I'll be happy to take any questions or comments, but again, I do think Sandy and I came to a conclusion pretty quickly. It would be, I think, worth our while to have her make a visit. That's all I have there.
Tammy?
Really, the only thing that I have to report to you guys is I've been working on potential grants for the basketball court, to baseball field. I've identified a couple for that and for the swimming pool that I'm looking to Area 15 and Pathfinders to see the difference and see if we would be a legitimate candidate for those grants. But they look to be very good. The swimming pool grant I'm looking at is the DNR, and it's a $75,000 grant. And the baseball field grant that I'm looking at is through Wellmark. It's a $25,000 grant. It's a small grant. They also offer a large grant. It was due today, so we couldn't get on that. But the small grant isn't due till June 5th. So just researching those grants as you had asked for those projects. So that's the only thing I have really to report on.
Council updates? Mayor comments. We met with Steve Davidson Tuesday afternoon. Basically went through the front page of our incentive program guide. changed a little bit of wording. You know, kind of added the forward inspection process, a plan review, footing, framing, and finish be the 4 inspections. So we're looking at maybe possibly requiring people to have a set of blueprints. Look at them beforehand, and then another possibility that we get closer to time is possibly increasing the cost of the permit for building a house.
Mayor, one of the items you mentioned at that meeting, you would recall there were some various codes, plumbing code, fire code. I can't list all of them versus in scripture. You may want to outline that a little bit. You said.
I mean, it says all expected to comply with federal, state, and local codes. The state outlines what they have. They've adopted National Electric Code, the Fire Code, the International Building Code, I mean, all the HVAC and all that stuff, so we fall under that purview. If we want to adopt them, we can. It's just another step that we're just redundant with what the state's already done. Electrical code, you have to have it inspected. I mean, that's, and as far as local codes go, we really don't have much for local codes, but, and federal codes, there really isn't anything federal. It's organizations.
It falls under that, the Iowa code. Then.
So whatever the state has, that's what we have, and then the residential energy code, that's kind of they went gangbusters on it 2 or 3 years ago, and then they really kind of figured out that most people was doing everything that they were asking them to do. There's still one out there. It's just our values of insulation and air leakage. But
Most people are above their standard.
yeah. And spray foam don't qualify. So they don't have an R value. So that's pretty much, I don't know, he was here probably for a half hour, 45 minutes. The bigger question of the whole thing was rental properties, and we figured that's a different hill to climb.
And Mayor, I think I kind of characterized that. That's, as we said, probably would be good to slay one dragon at a time.
That's, so. Anyhow, Tammy's working on getting the new guidelines typed up to a little bit different. Then the tax thing we discussed about the last time, maybe a step program over a longer period of time. Probably try to have that either at the next meeting or the first one in March to get it in front of council and get it approved. So. That's all I have. Closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 21.25(1)(c) to discuss strategy with council on matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the governmental body in that litigation. Topic, update on litigation. That really don't tell the public that, and that just tells me that they don't know what the litigation, they don't even know anything about it. It doesn't have to be much, but I read the notes and there's a good question and the conclusion.
You know, it's about real estate, purchase or sale, you could always just put update purchase. Or obviously you want to put the address.